A 2017 KTM 300XC, and it's due for a piston change. It has now 382 hours on it. This is going to be my third piston I've put in this bike. I'm going to show you the quick and easy way to rebuild these. This is the last of the carbureted engine. It seems to the pistons seem to last a long time. I usually change them around 130 to 150 hours. I've broken two pistons, the intake skirts of the pistons, and rebuilt it after that. This time I'm doing it a little bit differently. It hasn't broken yet. So I always find it hard to take apart a bike that runs perfectly. But because the cylinder's getting aged, I think it's time to be a little bit kinder to it, and I'm going to swap out the piston before it breaks. As I've went through the pistons in the past, so the first rebuild I did, I just put a standard size piston in it, and then the second rebuild I went to the B size piston. So it's a standard bore, but the piston's just a slight increment bigger. As the cylinder gets worn, this is what you're going to want to do, is just go up in their standard bore size, and they go from A, B, and C. If I was to put a stock A piston in there, it probably wouldn't last very long. It'd probably break the intake skirt because of the piston slap. So this is a size C, and we're going to give that a shot. I don't really do anything crazy. I always change the top conrod bearing when I do it. I only buy a base gasket. I don't disassemble the head, and that's all I do. I just slip it all back together. Oh, I do check the ring gap, and I'll especially be checking the ring gap on this because the piston's slightly larger. Okay, so I'm gonna just make it a quick video, and I'll tell you what I need to take apart. I'm going to be removing the seat, the tank. I take these off. I don't take them, I take it all off in one piece. This comes, I don't take these out. I just leave it on the tank. I take it out from here. Take these two bolts on each side, 4 bolts. And there's one bolt down here, and the whole tank comes off. I'll be removing the pipe, the head stay, the radiator hoses. I leave the rads on. Everything will squeeze by there. And yeah, I'll get that all done, and then I'll show you the rest of the stuff I do. Parts I've removed. I've got it down to it's looking like this now. I didn't even undo just left that. Just got to be out of the way. I've drained all the fluid via this. Looks like I need a new hose. It's pretty swelled. Okay, so now I'm going to be taking the spark plug out. I'll be removing this hose. I'll be taking this cover off and disconnecting the linkage. And at that point, I think I'm ready to undo the cylinder bolts and lift it up off of the piston. Gaskets, you basically just relieve the pressure from whatever mounts. Knock it back and forth. This will free it from one side. Preferably use a rubber hammer that's made by a dog. That usually works best. There. Now when I undo that gasket should all be intact. Okay, my gasket's caught up a tiny bit down there. I don't want to, and I don't have another gasket, so I'm going to just gently get a little flat blade and pick that off of there. Gasket. And this is kind of a funny thing. This little it's like a coil that runs around, and then it goes up through this ball. And all you do is you turn it off of that shaft and it pulls out, and then this pops off and it frees up the linkage so you can remove the cylinder. Turns there and pulls right out. And this just pops right off of there. See? Easy peasy. It's a good time just to see that it's all working smoothly. And it is, so I'm not even going to disassemble all those components and clean them and all that, because it's freely working and it's smooth. The operation is smooth, and it's fine. There's no sense in fixing something that ain't broke. Under studs undone and off, and then I just gently give her a couple whacks with the rubber mallet, forward, back, loosen it all up. There. Now I'll be able to just pull it off gently. What I'll probably do is I'll use the Kickstarter, gently lower the Kickstarter. That's going to lift this up. Oh, it's just totally free too. So. And I'll stick a little block in here and then pull the piston down with the Kickstarter. Then I've got it just set up on top of the cylinder, set up on top of these studs. Now, let's over on the downstroke, over on the upstroke. Oh, we're going to go through the cycle and drop it to its lowest, there's its lowest point. Now I can just lift that up. I don't have anybody to hold my camera. I'll just set it right there. Gently pull her out. Okay guys, so this here is a piston with over 150 hours on it. And it's got a bit of blow by. A little bit of scoring, not very bad. And I think it was due. I think it was a good time to change it. It does look like she's running a little rich, but I'd rather be running rich than lean. Just stick some paper towel or a rag or something in this opening to the crankcase so you don't drop anything. Now, I find the easiest way to remove the circlips is just with a really small flat blade screwdriver, and you just want to be careful. They like to fly away and they like to drop down in here. You don't want them to drop down in here, whatever you do. Otherwise you have to flip the bike upside down and blow air in it and fart around. So I'll do the same thing. I don't know if maybe that'll work. But yeah, so you got to look carefully, find kind of the end of it. I think I have the end right here. So I'm going to just stick a finger on there. See if she's coming already. Once you get it lifted out a bit, you just kind of go along and gently wiggle it out. There it is. There's one. And one is all you need to take out for now. Because now we just push this pin out this way from the other side. Usually they come out pretty easily. You can use a socket that's similar size, a little smaller. Usually a little tapping will get it out. I'm gonna actually there. Come on. There we go. 180 some odd hours, and it looks perfect. Now, if you took this to a shop and asked them to tell you if it's any good, they're going to just stick their finger, they're going to run their finger up and down it, they're going to feel an edge because it is a high hour cylinder, and they will tell you it needs to be bored and replated. But they won't tell you that the pistons come in various A, B, and C sizes. So a good tip there, you're going to feel a little ridge where the piston goes from down to up in its stroke. It's going to be a ridge at the bottom and a ridge at the top, and it's not going to damage the engine at all. You just simply go up as tiniest, minutest size in the piston. So this is a C piston. We're going to put it in with no rings, see how well it goes in, and slides freely up and down in the bore. So it's a good sign. The old piston, this is the lower ring, and this is the top ring, and the top ring was actually sticking a bit, so it wasn't moving freely. And if we look, we can actually see how much thicker the ring is here and how thin it is here. So this bike, if I would have continued to run it, it would have blown up soon. So I'm really glad I took it apart when I did. Piston kit comes with, it comes with your wrist pin, your circlips, your rings, and your piston. What it doesn't come with is your top bearing and your base gasket. KTM has several different base gaskets. I always go with the middle of the road sized gasket. Easy to install the rings. You just find the locating pin, stick one corner kind of in there, spread them apart, line them up with the little dowel. The rings go with the small letter facing up. Full of 2-stroke oil. Just coat everything with 2-stroke oil. This is Royal Purple. It's what I've been running. And this piston lasted longer than the rest, so. Hey! One piston, wrist pin, circlips, and the rings with their little letter facing up, and slide on the cylinder now. So there's centering pins on those rings. You put the ends, the butt ends of the rings lined up with those centering pins. And jam it right here. Might catch some action. I'm going to place this directly over the piston. I'm going to walk it back a bit. So it's a bit tricky. Make sure our pins are lined up. Oh, fuck. Huh. I bumped the starter. Where's that other pin? I bumped the starter with my forehead. There, we just depress the rings and lower the jug down on them. There, I think we did it. Just like that.
So what we're going to do there is simply take the bore diameter that we...
Hey, is this thing rolling?
I don't, yeah, 4 seconds, yeah, got that.
You too, buddy. Hope they give us a second for that dust to break.
Guys, keep the dust down.
Fuck.